Hey everyone, Drew Apiary here. I'm out here at one of the first yards. I know we haven't gone over here in a long time, but we are just checking in for our midwinter checks at this point. So today is February the 6th, middle of the day, peak heat. I think it's about 60 degrees right now, which is great for, at least here in this part of Georgia, north central Georgia. You know, the past week we've actually started having some warm weather again, and that's been awesome. But it's also been one of those things where, because of that, is now kind of time to dig into some of our hives, because, you know, we had that long spell of true winter weather of below freezing for weeks on end as far as the lows would go. You know, highs were still in the 40s, etc. But, you know, we've had some warmer, wet weather the past week and a half. And so I'm taking advantage of that today, going out to the yards, whether I get to all of them today or maybe go by another one tomorrow, we'll see. But we are checking all these hives to see, one, what the status is. And right now, all these hives are flying. I mean, you can kind of see at the beginning of the video when I kind of was panning out, but, you know, all these hives have bees flying. So we're gonna dig in, see how far that, you know, maybe they're coming along. See if they're starting to brood up or not, because to be honest, it already being the first week of February, here in Georgia, years before, I've either needed to decide what needed to be split by the end of the month, sometimes even before the end of the month of February, because by March, it's on. If you haven't already supered up, you could miss them, and you know, they could already have swarm cells built. So today is to kind of get a quick check of where all the hives, fresh start, fresh year. You know, I always keep notes year after year, but honestly, I like to start my notes per hive fresh at the start of a new year. And for me, this feels like the beginning of the beekeeping year, because this is where my notes are really going to matter, of knowing, hey, this hive needs to be split, hey, this needs a mite treatment, hey, this needs feed. So we're going to do that for all these hives today. We're going to dig into them, find out pertinent information about that. The other thing we're going to be doing is some supplemental feed, specifically pollen patties. I made some, I'll show those in the video here shortly, as to what that looks like. But a lot of these hives have a round top feeder, some don't, like an inner feeder, and I'll be putting the pollen patty in there. Not a very large one, but one just enough to give them something to chew on, because I'm kind of curious as to the sugar feed that I gave them a month or so ago, if that's all depleted. If so, you know, that's a good sign. It shows that they're eating it, but kind of want to see where they're at as far as the feed goes. And the pollen patty is going to help kind of give them some supplement getting ready into the spring. So I'll probably do some other talks throughout the video and kind of chime in, but yeah, let's dig right into them and see what we're working with out here. All right, we'll start from the end, see what we're working with. This hive was a very strong one, the last inspection. Obviously that was a while ago. You can see the inner round top feeder. Yeah, they still actually have a pretty good amount of sugar in there. So like I said, we're gonna give them a pollen patty here in a minute. I'm gonna push this off to the side, because like I said, we're doing an actual check to see how full up this area is. But you can see lots of bees in here. We'll probably end up putting the pollen patty right in here so they can work their way on it as they're chewing on all this dry sugar. But I was actually kind of surprised. I kind of expected to see all this dry sugar to be gone by now, but there are a ton of bees in there. A ton of bees. So this population could be more booming than I think it is. I'm about to find out here in a second. Okay, let's see. Got some empty space in here. Let's see what we're working with. Plenty of honey. It's good to see. Wanted to see if she was going to be brooding up here or not. You know, normally I would not like to leave a blank space up here. I guess I just did. Don't think that was necessarily intentional. Probably just forgot. But even with that blank space over this cold winter, and again, this is a double frame, you know, double box. You know, it's a deep and a super. They were still able to self-regulate even in below freezing temperatures. Haven't pulled out a frame, folks, in months. Look at all that capped. They're doing just fine. Trying to see if I see any signs of brood on there. I do not. Close that up. All right. And I'm gonna do one more peek into the bottom chamber. See what we're with. Oh, this is very heavy, folks. That is a lot. That is very, very heavy. I didn't like that. Starting to see some pollen come in. Don't know from what plant, but I know maple is usually one of the first things to bloom here in Georgia. So it's possible that maybe they're starting to bring in that. But yeah, let's take a peek on one of these ones in the middle. See if we can find our queen or see if there's any signs of just that she's been in there laying, because this is a really strong population, folks. Let's see. Wow. I'd say she's laying pretty good. What do you think? That's a really good laying pattern. Trying to see if we could find her. It's a really good chance. I see plenty of fresh brood on here. I'd have to look at my notes to see what year. I know this is either a year-old queen or just under a year, but that's a really good pattern to see. So let's see, put that back in there. There we go. Check the weight. Weight's decent. Like I said, there's definitely plenty of honey on the sides. One thing I always like to check too is any signs of anything on the bottom as far as swarm cells are getting ready to. And you can see there's a lot of wax down here, but no sign of any of that. So that's good to see. But you know, that could always change. If I'm not out here getting them ready here soon, they would be a strong contender for possibly splitting, or if I'm not careful, they might end up swarming on their own. So we're in here in the next hive. This is a red hive. This is the VSH genetics, or at least what I believe is going to be. You can see our queen running around right there, the red mark on her back. So she was born last year. I saw a beetle run over here. I was hoping I could get rid of him. But anyways, I just wanted to show you that right away. Saw her. You know, it's interesting that she's up in the super right now doing her thing. So it shows she hasn't laid any eggs up here per se, but you know, she's probably gonna be thinking about it. You know, she's had all this space to move around. So honestly, like I said, give it a week or two and we're gonna see a huge change in these hives. I need to be prepared for the next visit. So other thing I just kind of want to point out, like I said, I'm giving on the top pollen patties. These are not cut up great. I basically put parchment paper on the bottom, parchment paper on the top, cut them in half. You can tell this one's a little soupy. I should have made the consistency a little thicker. What I will tell you is, from what I've read with pollen patties, because this is actually my first year doing them, you definitely want to favor on side of them being wet versus too dry. If the pollen patty is too dry when you put it on there, they're gonna have real difficulty, you know, either consuming it, packing it, you know, taking it in. You know, you think when bees are collecting pollen in nature, you know, the pollen on their legs, it's kind of wet. You know, they get it from the flowering plant. They pack it on their thighs, on the pollen baskets, and carry it back. I've never seen bees, me personally, maybe they do, just take dry, loose pollen. I feel like it probably is more difficult. I think it's probably going to be easier for them to take down a pollen patty that has more of like a liquidy, or maybe not liquid, but kind of a good in between. Like I said, these definitely should have been made a little bit better. This consistency, while it needs to be thicker, is really just pollen that I had left over from last year that wasn't safe for human consumption, and it is mixed with sugar and some water. And again, I should have put probably a little bit more sugar and pollen so that it didn't get this soupy, because I did freeze these overnight, so that way they would be a little bit easier to put into the feeder itself. But just something to think about. If you guys have made pollen patties in the past and you have a formula or you have a system that works best for you, you know, keep doing it. But I wanted to try to do it because, again, a lot of the pollen that, you know, they might be bringing in, like right here, let me show you this real quick, folks. These bees are bringing in pollen left and right. It's really easy to see from this hive, but I'm constantly seeing yellow pollen come into the hive, and that's awesome to see. But I bring that up because the more pollen that gets stored, you know, they're gonna have a better chance of raising brood. And with brood comes, you know, the expansion of the population, and with that comes the chance for either a potential swarm if you're not careful, or, you know, the opportunity to make a split. So I'm feeding pollen patties not only as a food substitute, but to hopefully get them ready to go into the spring with a good population ready for not only the flow, but if I'm gonna split them, I'm gonna split them. So just wanna share that. We'll keep working our way down. All right, stopped on this far right one over here in this yard. This was actually a really strong hive. It's still technically survivable, even this time of the year. They were a single deep that I had a feeder on top of. And honestly, in this yard, this one's actually in the worst shape. I think it can survive, but what was happening was, the same problem I'd had in the other yard is this one was being inundated with beetles. I don't know if you can see all these little black specks. These are all beetles I smashed. So I'm gonna go through these as well. I basically went through frame here through here and just kept shaking them on this, and it's basically a smashing mat. You know, you see the beetles come off of the frame, and when they show themselves, you know, you avoid the bees and you just smash them. I mean, this thing was just loaded with beetles. Could not believe it. So I'm going through. I've already found my queen. She's actually in this cage right now. I don't know if you can see her, but she's not marked. There she is, she's poking her head out. She was a queen from last year. I don't know how I missed marking her. Maybe I just didn't get a chance to. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all folks, I would mark her. My marker's in the car, but also, you know, this is one of those situations where if I do something foolish and I accidentally injure her in the marking process, this is gonna make their situation a lot worse. And I'd rather her be stress-free and as happy as possible and not deal with an injured queen or anything like that. So I'm just gonna get her back in here once I've done my bit of checking all these frames, making sure we don't have any more residual beetles. There was a beetle trap in here, but I think it had solidified the oil. So I need to figure that out. Let's take a peek in the sunlight right here. You know, it's always easy in the sunlight to see if there's any beetles hiding. Right now I'm not seeing any. Let's flip it over. Oh, this one's actually some beetle free. Another reason why I bring that up is, you know, I had another hive in this yard that had some beetles, not as bad as this problem, but you know, the beetles, what they're going to do aside from eating the pollen, you know, they're going to eat the brood. So there is brood in here, but I'm talking, guys, like it's on one frame and it is really tiny patchy. Like it's you know, the brood pattern is less than this circle right here on one frame. And what that tells me is this queen is having difficulty keeping up with all these beetles probably eating the eggs. And so every egg she lays, you know, maybe a good amount of them get chomped on by these beetles. There's another one I just smashed. And so she's not been able to build up a population. So hopefully by smashing all these beetles, all these hitchhikers that have been with her all winter, we can now give her a chance to make a comeback. So that's the goal right now. Just wanted to share that with you. I'm gonna get this thing tidied up and then we're gonna get out of this yard. For the camera show, this is the first hive in this entire row. I'll find out if other yards the same, that has some drone brood in it. So I'm gonna show you in the light. This area right here, this is all drone brood. I don't know if you can see that. They're a little bit larger. You still got normal brood in there, you know, only like a few days old, looks like. And a lot of this drone brood is almost capped over. That's really good to see. You know, I was kind of surprised that I wasn't already seeing some capped drone brood, but this is really showing that, you know, we are in it. They would not be laying drones if they didn't think we were close to, you know, going into spring. So, you know, it's always great to watch the bees, see what they're doing, kind of let you know what's to come, because they think it's about time. I'm trying to see if I can saw my queen on here, but I don't. That's okay though. Nope. Nope. So this one had some beetles too. It seems like this corner of the yard has a little bit more of a beetle problem than the other side. This population is really good though for just being a single deep body. Both these two are. I mean, this one was as well, but this wasn't always a single deep. I know it's showing two, but there's a feeder in the top. It's not. It's actually really just one brood box. But no, I'm gonna have to come back on the next visit, hopefully in the next week to 2 weeks, and I'm gonna need to super up some of these, because if they're already putting drones, it's only a matter of time before we start to see signs of swarm cells or them getting ready, because this hive specifically is gonna need to be split. I'm gonna make a note of that. So just wanted to share that drones are here, and they are they're getting ready. So just figured I'd share. All right, folks, I want to stop the video real quick just to kind of talk about something real fast. Hold on one second. Bees are being a little feisty, so let's give them a little bit of smoke. This colony is super strong. I wanted to stop the video because I want to talk about splits. How early is too early? And, you know, the reason why that's important to kind of talk about is, you know, for many folks, we usually don't start splitting until we're in the spring, you know, going into the swarm season. And what I can tell you right now is this hive, like I said, it's super strong, almost filled 2 deep boxes. It's overwintered really well. I've barely supplementally fed it, okay? Super strong queen. Here's the queen right here, running around. She's a red marked one, even though her red's pretty much coming off. But what I wanted to bring to y'all's attention, aside from there being loads of brood, is I'm thinking about doing an early split. It is February 7th. So like I said, I know I started this video on the 6th. This is the next day. This is extremely early to be doing such a thing, but I'm not gonna be doing splits, you know, the normal way. I'm gonna be doing a split this way, the double screen board. So real quick, most of y'all already know this, but quick facts about the honeybee life cycle. So, you know, your worker from the time it is an egg to the time it hatches is about 3 weeks, okay? The drone is a little bit longer. That's about 24 days, so it's a few days longer than the worker bees. And a queen is about 16 days from the time that it's an egg till they cap it at around a little over a week. And so the reason why I bring that up is this. Let me show this to the camera. Again, apologize for the shaky camera work, but just like in the other video, this one already has capped drones, and a lot of them. And a capped drone is normally capped at about the 10-day mark. So these drones are probably going to emerge in the next 2 weeks, you know, closer to the end of that period. So late February, these drones are going to be in here. They're going to start doing flights on days that they can to go look for a virgin queen. And so knowing that, I didn't really see much in that one that I already looked at, but I'm going to make a split with a double screen bottom board, or not a double screen bottle, but like a double screen divider board. All right, so there's mesh on this side. You might have seen it in another video. Mesh on this side, and there's an entrance right here that's cut open that you can slide open or close. I'm going to place this in between both boxes, and I'm going to place the old queen, this queen right here, into the top box. And the bottom box, which has plenty of brood, and it'll still be strong, they'll have a brood break, they're gonna raise hopefully a new queen. So I'm gonna get that set up. Like I said, bottom box has plenty of brood right now. The top box right here has almost none, but when I move her up to here, this is the only spot she's going to be able to be laying any bees at. So let me put some of this back. Some oil trap. This did have a lot of beetles, unfortunately. Hate seeing beetles, but this hive had a lot of them. We're going to slide all this over, or actually, you know what, without breaking anything, I'm not going to do that. We're going to give them one of these. Not necessarily a blank, but framed it doesn't have a whole lot going on it right now. We're going to get that in there. And now we're going to place this right here with a reverse entrance. So on this hive, the normal entrance is up front right here. Wow, it is crowded. I don't know if you folks can see this. Look how many bees trying to make their way back in. Given it's at a small hole opening, very tiny, but I had to do some repairs where this thing wasn't fully closed, but yeah, that's a traffic jam right there. So now that we've got this new entrance up top, I'm gonna take this brood box, I'm gonna put it up here, and this is 2 different colonies now. That double screen mesh that you saw, they cannot transfer the pheromone between both boxes. So this this brood box down here does not think it has a queen anymore. They're going to raise a queen from the freshly laid eggs, and there are plenty in there. So there's gonna be a lot of opportunity for new queen or queens to be bred. Up here, I wanna give them at least 1 frame of some brood. Give them some room. So that way the cluster is kind of more in the middle. We're gonna put this brood frame in the middle. And we're gonna take our queen right here. See her? We're gonna let her in there. There she goes. See, folks? She's going down. And that's it. That is this is a great way to make splits very early in the season, because again, this box is going to be raising brood. They're going to hopefully raise a brand new queen. She's going to keep plugging and chugging up here in this box. On my next visit, I do need to give her more space so that way she doesn't overlay, but they're going to be in no room to do anything but basically try to make a new queen. So she has time to do her piece up here. The bees are going to go in and out of this entrance as they orient. There's still going to be a lot of bees coming in and out down there, but again, they'll catch up. If I need to come back next time and give them another brood frame, I can, but they'll be able to make it work. So just wanted to share that while it's still cold out. They can share warmth. You know, it's very risky to make splits too early, and again, end of the first week of February is way too early to make a normal split. Might even be too early to make a split in this way, but I want to test it, and I have the ability to. They're bumping. Honestly, if I didn't split them now, I promise you in 2 weeks they would have been getting ready to do it on their own. So just wanted to share that. You know, these things are great. They're worth their weight in gold. If you want to make early splits, highly recommend them. All right, that's it for this yard. Like I said, aside from the split, a lot of beetles still in this yard. Probably just taking the warmth of the hive over winter. So I definitely spent way too much time in this yard smashing, but hopefully that helps them out. This blue hive, it is barely survived. It does have a queen, saw her, but she's lost most of her population due to the cold. So I gave her a frame of brood, not a very big one, just a tiny little patch that hopefully they can work with. So, you know, I'm not feeling strongly about that one. If another big snap comes through, they're donezo. But other than that, these other ones are in okay strength, or, you know, decent strength, those two being the strongest. But yeah, you know, now I've watched some other videos on YouTube of some other beekeepers that are having issues with beetles over the winter, seeing record numbers. I'm thinking about grabbing one of those beetle vacuums that I've seen some folks use, try to see if that speeds up things, because I probably wasted an extra hour and a half in this yard alone just because of the beetle situation and trying to get that under control. So got to find a way forward to be more time efficient. But other than that, we got one more yard to go, and that'll be it. All right, everyone, we're out here at the final yard, the big tree yard. Kind of see us walking up on it right now. So this is, I had to spread out these visits over several days just because got so busy doing the things I talked about earlier in the video, smashing mites, or not mites, I'm sorry, smashing beetles. But we're gonna finish this one up. It is midday, it's around lunch. It is very overcast today, unlike the other days. And yeah, let's take a look at these hives. Looks like we got some survivors in there. That was the one I was most worried about. That one's got some pliers. Movement in those two. What about this one? We got anything going on here? I'm not seeing anything. That one could be a dead out. We'll find out here in a second. does not give me a good vibe. We're gonna find out here in a minute. But what I can tell you is we're just doing the same thing. We're gonna check on the food stores up top. We're going to rearrange as needed, check to see if we've got laying queens, and do a little bit of supplemental feeding, take some notes as to what on next visit needs to be done. And just like the other 2 yards, I did do a quick oxalic acid vapor treatment, and I'll probably briefly do that out here just to give it to them. I mean, it's not going to be super effective if they've already got brood, which most of the other yards did, but I felt like, hey, at least giving them some sort of a mite treatment was better than none at all. They got the one earlier in the month that I did, but just want to give them one more. Any other phoretic, any more mites that are on the bodies of the bees can just be knocked out before going into spring. But it is on. I know today's not really showing it out here. I know it's very, like I said, it's overcast. I mean, it's a little warm. It's around 60 right now. Doesn't feel it, but it's close enough to it. And again, bees are bringing in pollen every day. Populations are exploding. And all the videos of other beekeepers I've seen in my area show that, it's about to be on here in this part of Georgia very shortly. It kind of already is, but it's really going to be on in probably about 2 weeks time. So without further ado, I'm going to get started with the potentially dead one. Since this one has no activity, see what happened, if they either froze or what it was. So you got a lot of leaf insulation. Let's see. Figure out what happened here. I see some dead bees for sure. What happened here? Yep. There's what was the cluster. I don't know if y'all see that, folks, right here. Oops, camera's coming down. That right there is where they made their last stand, unfortunately. And this is my first dead out of the season. So, I mean, you always expect there's always a chance it's gonna happen. You always hope it doesn't happen, but see them all? So, they tried, they did their best, but they had stores. But it was not enough. Always sad to see. So what I'm gonna end up doing with this is, I guarantee you one of these other hives is gonna want some extra space, because most of these are just either an empty, like, this top is just gonna be feeder. So any one of these ones that looks like they're ready to get an additional hive body on top of them, I'm gonna give it to them, or the super. But yeah, it's really disappointing, because like I said, this was one of the ones that I was looking forward. I think actually, if I look at my notes, this actually may have been an older queen, which might explain why she didn't do as great of a job going into the winter. But I'll know when I double check my notes, and I'll comment below if something stands out as to the why. And then yeah, let's move on to a better looking one. This one's looking really good, folks, or at least better than it usually does. Historically, this has been one of my weaker hives. It's amazing that it survived, and yet the one that was in a lot better shape before did not. But there is signs of a queen. I haven't seen her yet, but I was just going through. I smashed a few beetles. There weren't very many in here compared to the other yard or two where I saw a bunch. But there's our queen. I don't know if you see her. She is right there, running around. I'll try to get it closer to the... So, oh, she's doing her thing. She made a quick appearance, then she was gone. But yeah, good to see her in there laying. She's not marked right now. Don't really remember. Pretty sure she was one that yeah, in fact, I do remember now. She's definitely one that I made last year because the previous queen was a real poor performer. And I basically forced them to make a new one. So, but yeah, she seems to be laying up a storm, and I'm not seeing any signs of any more beetles in the rest of this. Oh, there's one right there, I see. Take it back. Just put that right there. Alright. But yeah, this is looking good. We just got a few more to go through. And yeah, we'll give some thoughts. This one's looking pretty good. Didn't see the queen, but saw plenty of eggs and brood. This one was just bumping with bees. This one's facing this way, backside of the tree. This one has a ton. This is the super up top, and I'm about to take a peek underneath into the deep, but it has a lot of weight to it, so they're gonna probably get one of those other boxes. Yeah, look at that. That's a lot of bees. So they are going to get a box. Let's take a peek, see what we're working with in the middle. I can already see drone brood. I know a lot of folks are reporting already seeing drones. I was talking about that earlier in the video, but even out here, they're getting ready, folks. You gotta be ready for the swarm or you're gonna lose them. Oh yeah, this thing is packed full of bees, everybody. Wow. That is a full brood frame. Give it 2 weeks, this thing is gonna be exploding with bees. I mean, it already is. Like I said, they've almost filled up both boxes. That is a lot of bees. Kind of see if we could see our queen on here. I do not. That's all right. It's a really strong hive. So I'm actually going to give them the deep body simply because they've got the room to fill it up. This queen is clearly going to be a good layer, and this will be a prime split candidate. So that's what we're going to do. See if we can get them to move a little bit. And hopefully, next visit, I'll know exactly where she's at. So, probably use a divider board on this one, just because it is early, especially if I come back out here in a week or two. Just want to give them a little bit of room for the time being. Be a little bit faster for me to find the queen if they're not so congested, and then I can figure out where I want to put her. So, one more to go, and then yeah, we'll do final thoughts. All right, folks, that's pretty much it for today. Like I said, the only disappointment in this entire yard was just the fact that the one over here did not make it and froze to death. They actually had a decent population, almost equal to this, so it's crazy that this one survived and that one didn't. They all had the same treatments, same feed. They both had food stores. I ended up giving the box of some of the good frames, some to this and some to the other one. I don't know if you saw in the a little bit earlier, I did end up making a split with the Far Strong hive over here. Saw the queen, she was unmarked. At the very top, she was up in the super. I hadn't really seen her necessarily laying up there, but she was hanging up in the top. And so I used a divider board, just like I did earlier in the video. And I'm gonna make a split with them to hopefully recoup the loss from over here. So, you know, as you can see right now, I'm getting ready to do a little bit of oxalic acid treatment just because I'm here and I have it. This will probably be the final one of at least the winter going into spring, since the brood is about to be in full swing. It already kind of is. So this is kind of negligible what it's going to do, but if I'm here and I have it, I might as well utilize it. So either way, like I said, hopefully y'all are getting ready for the upcoming spring and swarm season, and eventually we'll get into the flow, but make your splits, or get ready to make your splits sooner rather than later, because at least here in the southeast, we're going to have it at least a few weeks to a full month earlier than we did last year. So either way, hope all y'all's bees are doing well. Hope y'all are staying safe. Take care, and catch y'all in the next one.